And yeah, here we go. So, as you saw, the runners rename their characters, and they're gonna go off. This is some standard RPG fare. I think most of you guys have probably seen these races a couple times. There's gonna be a lot of glitches. These players are gonna go for RNG manipulation, but they have practiced backups if they end up messing things up. There's certain parts where you have to be very, very specific in how you input your actions in order to get the quickest possible setups. But apart from that, really, RNG manipulation is just going to save time from healing and reduced enemy attacks because you're able to attack more instead of healing. Alright, so we've got both players popping in the menu, putting their battle speed to 1, changing some controls, and putting battle cursor to memory. Memory is pretty important. Battle cursor to memory does two things. The main thing and the most obvious thing is that it will remember your tech, and it'll also remember whether you last used tech or item. So if you last used an item on one of your characters, you're actually able to hit the A button as soon as their turn comes up, and you'll go into the item menu. That's pretty important because we're going to be playing on battle speed 1. Everything slips by really quickly. But on wait ATB, when you go into a menu, the whole thing kind of pauses. So we use that to our advantage to save time overall, but without just getting completely run over by the game. Whereas when we were in active, the enemies would still get a chance to do their attacks even when we're in a menu. So you got to talk to the shopkeeper, run up. Both players just deciding to eat the candy now, not saving it for later. So yeah, the big thing for the early game is you just want to have most of the fights at the beginning go correctly. There's 3 fights in a row that you want to have go the right way. If you know the backups and you mess up one of the fights, you can do one of those and still end up okay. But the main thing is these first 3 fights, you want to get into a certain RNG window where you won't get any slow spells from the Nega-ets. But they're coming up in a good 8 minutes or so. So yeah, here at the beginning, there's a couple micro movements that you can do, but the main tech here is you want to talk to Marle instead of riding on the teleporter yourself. It's one of those things that you might not quite realize is a thing until someone points it out to you, and you feel a little bit silly that you've been riding the teleporter this whole time. But yeah, it's a I feel like it's a developer thing, really. Even the developers played the beginning of the game so much that they just didn't want to have to watch Chrono walk on the teleporter as well. Alright, so there's not really too much difference here between the 2 runners. Ponk is just mildly ahead of KO, and that just comes down to optimal matching and slightly quicker menuing. Chrono Trigger is an interesting game because there's a lot of parts where if you don't pay attention, you can easily lose time. And it's the easiest, smallest little things, like being practiced enough in your menu and knowing your item route so you know where all your items are in the item inventory will just like speed up your menus quite a bit. But here we go. Into the first fight. It's important that you just hold left coming out of this fight. You don't really want to hold up or down. There's a chance that you could get a bad pixel setup. I think Kaio might have actually got it. So we'll see if he's still able to not get hit here. Ponk looks like he's doing okay. Yeah, Kaio's going to get one hit. And yeah, it's not like a big deal at this point in the run. The extra hit basically just means that the critical value for the next fight isn't going to be where he expects it to be. And those enemies, a critical from anyone will kill them. Bird skip here. Otherwise, it takes 2 attacks. So knowing when you get criticals is kind of important. And it just comes from, you know, making those mistakes and learning how to deal with them. First, we have to make our way into the castle. Yeah, we'll see that bird skip a couple more times in this run, too. And in a couple different directions. Alright, so we finally get a chance to meet the queen. Or is it the queen? Yeah, the Blat timer is pretty interesting. Must be some sort of Metroid meme, maybe? Yeah, so we made it. We're going to talk to what actually isn't the queen, but is Marley. And we're going to learn what happens when you mess with the timeline. Everything goes blue. And she's gone. Alright. We're back to castle music. And we're into the only 2 grinding fights in the entire run. These are not required, very skippable fights, but we fight them because Fire Whirl is just that good. Fire Whirl attack is going to allow us to kill 3, hopefully, 3 of the Nagaets coming up in 1 attack. Luca's fire stat is just really powerful, even early in the game, and even without some of the glitches we're going to be using later. I guess during this cutscene I can talk about one of them, which is the unequipped glitch. Really cracks this game open, makes it nice and safe to speedrun. Since you're such a low level going through, you skip all the boss fights mostly. Well, not all of them, but a good number anyway. And you end up at a really low level going through the game. But the unequipped glitch, it will remove your armor, and, well, it's really equipping a null armor onto your slot. And that armor boosts your magic attack, which is wild and amazing. It makes no sense, but it's cool that it works that way. And it also increases your defense to 3 of the 4 possible magic elements, everything except for fire. So we're in on the first battle here. Ponk was good. So we'll see if Kaio knows the backup for the 1 attack there. Really, the main thing you're looking for is just having the RNG be a little bit further on than it normally would be. So if you actually failed that bird skip on Intruce Canyon, you could just fight these fights normally by just holding the X button to attack, and you'd end up in the proper RNG for the Nega-Ets. Honk should be fine here, but there is a question whether KO will be set up properly. I guess we'll find out. Alright, so in the Cathedral, see a slight movement optimization from Ponk. Just getting Luca a little bit closer to where she needs to be for the cutscene. I'm gonna hold X here. It's not so much for the damage, but it sets up your turns perfectly for the rest of your inputs. And yeah, these Nega-Ets move perfectly for him. And yeah, it looks like KO didn't quite get the right windows, so I don't think he's going to be getting crits in the fight coming up, but he was able to Fire Whirl 3 of these guys. Still gets one slow spell, though. So as you see, it's very slow. The animation's really long, and it slows down Luca. But overall, it's a minor thing. It's basically just time that you're losing, and nothing else. You're not, like, risking dying or anything here. Alright, so we get the man, well, the frogman, I should say, Glenn, or as we like to call him, G. Good game design here. The game is showing you that if you play a piano, it opens a secret door. So you should probably be incentivized to play any other pianos you find. Honk opting to skip the safety revive there. Picking up a nice shiny new sword for Chrono. And grabbing a power tab. That plus the sword, the power glove, and the other power tab that we picked up are all we really need for the next little area anyway. This area and the next. Because like I said before, Luca, or any character really, gets a boost to their magic attack when they get unequipped, and Luca isn't really going to be doing much attacking. She's just going to be using magic. Alright. Yep, Frog gets a crit. And this is really the best case outcome for this fight. If the entire RNG string goes well, then you get 2 crits from Frog, you eliminate an extra attack from the Diablos. KO's Chrono getting punched by the henches. That's a pretty slow attack to get to, because there's not only the attack and the damage numbers, but Chrono's character is actually moving around too. Alright, so Ponk's coming up on a bunch of glitches. Safety save, just in case he messes up. Now, this is the fade out glitch. You walk into a transition, open and close your menu to keep the transition stored, and you can walk into battles. Or in this situation, we're going to walk onto a save point and keep the ability to save in the next room. The unequipped glitch being performed on Luca, and a couple power tabs on Chrono. So now, oh, he's got a... That's right, he's good. He was just checking to see if he could save. So KO's heading into the same menu. And picking up that power glove is even more important. Okay, we're doing the menu here. Because you wouldn't actually be able to unequip Luca without picking up the power glove. Alright, so Ponk doing some text canceling. He basically saved over the trigger, and then he starts the battle with the enemy off screen, and the battle's over. It's pretty easy. Yeah, it kind of depends on the run. In this run, renaming Chrono, Luca and Marley is definitely faster. Frog is like so-so, you know, if you're really quick, and like renaming a Robo isn't really faster for this category, but every other category it should be, and the longer the category, the more time you're going to save. Like for Chrono, you're basically shortening the time it takes to write his name on every text box of his by 4 frames. So that'll add up eventually, with 60 frames being in a second. So it really only takes like 15 text boxes or so to save a second, but it's not quite exactly that either. There's some funky things with text boxes, so sometimes you're gonna save time, and other times it's a wash. I think it's kind of the same thing with frame rules. All right, both players triggering this this cutscene from the top saves just a little bit of time on the group up. So pretty clean for both players here. Not much to worry about just yet. Ponk is heading on his way to the reverse bird skip, but first frog skip. Reverse bird skip is using the save anywhere glitch that we still have, that we used to get past Yakra. So the fight triggers in Juice Canyon, they spawn differently based on which entrance you use. But when you save and reload on the screen, which is something you're not supposed to be able to do, it always thinks you're coming from the portal entrance. Looks like Ponk got in that fight. It's going to give Kaio a chance to catch up. There it is. So just like skipping that fight in the first place, you're using the corner to sort of push your character around a battle trigger. You can just run away from this fight, so the skip is maybe a little bit tough for the amount of time it actually does save. But the nice thing is when you save and reload, you can set yourself up to be on the correct RNG for the next section, because that's set based on how long you're on the file select screen. So you can kind of get yourself back on track at any point during the run. There's a bunch of different backups you can use. It's just it costs you time to reset the game. Alright, so Ponk exiting at around a 1921. It's not too bad of a first section. Now we're on to the trial. So there's a thing that can happen very early in the run, which might actually cost you some time. And it might not seem like it, but when you are at the very beginning of the run and you run into Marley and she drops her pendant, if you talk to her first before talking to the pendant, it can actually change the outcome of the trial. You want to talk to the pendant first. Oh yeah, I'm just assuming both these runners are going to get guilty. Easy. It's going to happen. As long as they both make the right inputs on the choices here. As long as you remember it's always the second choice, it's pretty easy. And it's normally right after the Chancellor starts moving too that you have to input your choice. I should say you pick up the pendant first, instead of talking to it. I mean, if you see a pendant on the ground, you're just like, hey, how you doing, pendant? You new in town? That's how you talk to a pendant, but... Maybe I should be more specific and say that you perform your A button action on the pendant. Yeah, since we're trying to get guilty, it does make a difference. Checking to see if she was okay before you picked up the pendant will affect that. So Kaio is blaming 99 because that's what he ended up naming Marla here. Alright, so it comes down to the second juror. And we've got a not guilty on Ponk's side. That's a little unfortunate. Yeah. The guilty versus not guilty doesn't really save that much time. I mean, we are talking 8 seconds, and in a game as optimized as this, 8 seconds is 8 seconds, but there's just a couple spots where there's less text if you're guilty, essentially. Looks like Kaio did get guilty, so he's going to be making up 8 seconds. Alright, so King puts his foot down. We're leaving. Rolling out. So here on Ponk's side, we're gonna see the main jailer here question whether there was an execution or not, and the Chancellor is gonna berate him for a couple text boxes worth of nonsense. Execution? What execution? It doesn't seem like much, but there's that, and then there's just a little different amount of text at the end of the trial as well, based on what you get. Alright, so Ponk should be good here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a safety save. This is one of those sections where, yeah, if you mess up early, it's actually faster to just quickly reset and move forward. Because from this fight on until the R series, we have a bit of manipulation. So we know where all the crits and everything are going to be, as long as our fights go the way it's supposed to. As well as the fight skips. Because each time you get in a fight, the RNG value jumps ahead by a large amount. And it basically puts you in concurrent windows as you're going through. So yeah, nice 60. That's what we're looking for here. Respecting the shields. I understand that. Shields have gotten a couple people this tournament so far. So Ponk's doing another pretty long fade out. This is a fight where we actually have 2 crits queued right up for Chrono. And we'd be able to beat this fight faster than optimal fade-outs. But unfortunately, those 2 crits are better served on the Dragon Tank fight. So now we have to get past these guards without getting caught. Okay. I turn so fast, it always gets me on edge. Quick look down. Nice. Alright. No extra fights for Ponk. Just gonna make it through the shields, and he's got one more fade out. And he's on to the boss. KO. First guard was about the same. Yeah, this is a tough one. The best visual cue is when he changes from facing right to facing down. But if you keep a really tight eye on his frames, he has a bit of a hiccup. And that also lets you know that he just reset his timer. So if he's facing down, you can check by looking at his animation if you've got a window big enough to actually attack him. Okay, KO trying to do this last fade out. Nice done. Alright, so both racers should get the proper Dragon Tank fight and the concurrent fights. So yeah, like I said, Chrono has 2 crits lined up. And whether it was the guard fight on the bridge or the Dragon Tank fight, the first 2 attacks from Chrono are going to be crits. Yeah, killing the head first is pretty dangerous if you were to try it casually. But we're able to just do it barely. Nice battle skip from Ponk. Just a little menu trickery, and it's able to skip one of the Dragon Tank's attacks. Playing with how the game decides to stack the different attacks and abilities. Perfect fight from Ponk. Couldn't have gone any better. Again, we're gonna see the battles or the attack skip. It's pretty easy to get, but it's one of those things that if you mess it up, it's going to kind of affect how your next couple fights unfold. And we don't want that to happen. Yeah. And that's again, it kind of shows the biggest time savings from RNG manipulation is just not having to heal, because you know who's going to get hit and for how much. So you can let your health get dangerously low. The problem is if you mess up and you're in that situation, there's a good likelihood that you die or you lose a lot of time just clawing your way back. KO unfortunately missed a text box skip there. It's a similar type of skip to the bird skip, where you're using a corner to push you. Alright, we're coming up on one of my favorite sections of the game too. Once we get into the future, the first screen there has a lot of really interesting, I guess you call it platforming. It's got battle triggers everywhere, but we're actually not going to get into a single fight. by abusing some of the game's mechanics to our advantage. So there's 3 items that we need to pick up in Lab 16. The first and foremost is the Berserker. We're going to be using that on nearly every boss from here on out, once we get it. Not every boss, but almost every boss. We're also going to pick up a new sword for Chrono, and a weapon for Marley. And the weapon's really just for one fight, but the chest is along the way. Alright, so he's looking for the rat to steal from him, and when the rat's stealing, text is open. He can run over battle triggers without them actually triggering. Most of these battles you could just move over the battle triggers, or like move around them and avoid them. But it's actually a lot quicker just to run over them and have a couple of your dollars stolen. Not too many, just enough. Oh, Punk got in there nicely. Alright, Lab 16 from KO. Oh, that's not going to work. Yeah, he's going to have to go the long way around. Fortunately, the rat text box closed out for him a little bit too soon. Good thing they don't need these tonics or money. Alright, so Ponk's coming up on the room where you would normally fight Guardian. But you can fade out the Guardian fight. The issue is we don't have access to our second menu button yet, and the X button will cause a fight. So earlier he swapped his controls so that X and Y are alternated. So he can open and close his menu in that room without worrying about starting a silly fight with some buggers. Yeah, so far, a really nice, clean run from Ponk. KO not too far behind. They're going to be high-fiving in the rat chase room. So it looks like KO is going to swap his controls. And fade out the fight as well. Luckily there's an audio cue, so if you're not sure if you hit that fade out correctly, the sirens won't be going off in that room anymore. Alright. Pretty important fade out on Ponk's side. This fade out saves probably about a minute to a minute and a half. You're skipping half this cutscene. This is a relatively large story cutscene. Yeah, the fade out glitches seem perfect, really. It's an awesome way to abuse the system. We should really start calling the Aris Dome the High Five Dome, because these guys are going to be high-fiving each other again on different wings of the dome. So I know Punk's been practicing the quick cycle here on the bugs. Oh no. Looks like he went for it. I could tell in the confidence of his movement that he was probably going to go for it. So that fight's going to let KO sort of catch up a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. Punk isn't going to be guaranteed any of his criticals from here on out. That wasn't a commentator curse, guys. Just saying. All right, so after a little bit of hype music, things kind of calm down a little bit again. Doan will give us the key to his bike. When he was a young, scraggly future kid, he used to ride the bike up and down the highway, but now the world is just too mutated and polluted for him to do even something like that. It's kind of sad. But we're young, we're healthy, we're strong. We're gonna go race some mutants. So yeah, Johnny, the race is pretty straightforward. You want to stay in front of him as much as you can, but it's not necessary to beat the race. It just saves a little bit of time. Alright. So Punk's going for super safe strats. Just making sure that this race doesn't get the best of him, because a loss to Johnny is about a minute. We don't want to see that happen to either of the runners, really. Or if we do see it, we want to see it to both. Easy peasy. Evil 666. We'll overlook that and congratulate him on his victory. He is about a minute and change ahead, KO. But we still have the slime fight to perhaps even things out. Alright, so Ponk did the right thing here. Chrono was in a situation where if he got hit one more time, he would die. And so he sheltered before this fight. Normally you would shelter a little bit later. But we're going to be healing with Robo in a little bit anyway, so it's not going to matter too much. KO opting to do a little bit more bouncing on the front. He's over 1,000. Oh, nope, 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 nope. That's not good. Oh, shoot. That's it's about a minute there, but there's still plenty to catch up here in the run. I hope KO is okay. Alright, so Ponk's got Robo in his party. Alright, we saw 666 and 777 from both racers. I'm not sure if that was intended or not, but... Alright, here we go. Yeah, so it looks like KO healed up as well. Again, a smart idea. High-fiving on the way out. And Ponk's into the factory. So the factory isn't really that tough of a section. But the problem is we haven't leveled at all. We've skipped almost all the fights. So our characters are so low level that they really can't do anything to these enemies. You know, Robo's hitting for 1, Luca's hitting for 1, Chrono's only hitting for 4. So these acids, these orange slimes, they have a pretty high defense and 10 HP. The green ones have a slightly lower defense and 9. So they're a little bit easier to kill, and that's kind of what we're hoping to see coming up here in the next room. There's 5 random slimes, and we're hoping for 5 green, but there's only 1 in 60 chance of that happening based on the frame cycle you're on. All right. So this is the slime fight. Fingers crossed that we see an alright pattern. Or maybe a rough... Oh. I don't know, this is kind of... You're not quite sure. You need good damage rolls. So... Robo's gonna rocket punch. Hopefully 1 shot. That was nice. If he can get some good damage rolls on these cyclones, then this fight might not be that bad. Because really, one of the main things you gotta watch out for this fight is the counterattacks. If you attack a green slime next to an orange slime, there's a very good chance that it'll counterattack, and it hits you kind of hard, but it also takes quite a bit of time. The big thing you want to remember is you don't want to go any lower than 8 MP here, unless you've picked up a mid-aether during the Yakra skip. Wow, nothing's dead yet. Alright, I did see a mid-aether in his inventory. So it is an option, but... So as you see, these guys will just absorb so much damage. It's kind of annoying when you hit them for just never-ending creative ones. Alright, so this is definitely not the best fight. KO is hoping that he can get a bunch of greens, maybe even 5, and potentially catch up a little bit here. Yeah, the mid-aether and the Yakra skip isn't required, but it's a nice backup if you want to use extra cyclones on the slime fight, because it's essentially free to get during the Yakra skip. It actually happened to me in one of my races where I accidentally cycloned too much and went down to 6 MP, and you need 8 to fight the boss. So I had to go all the way out and grab another shelter and use it. Alright, so KO's on his way to the slime fight. I'm really hoping that he gets a really nice pattern and breezes through it. Narrow this gap a little bit. No, he's gonna get the exact same pattern. Okay. Hopefully this rocket punch will deal at least 9 damage. Fingers crossed. Oh, and that's a 5. There's the counter. Yeah, it hits everyone for 30. Animation's nice and slow. Yeah, the Cyclone should kill the green, but there is still a chance that it hits. Okay. Just kills the green. Oh, that Cyclone reached all the way up there. Nice damage rolls. Definitely better damage rolls than what Ponk saw. I might be speaking too soon. Alright, stay alive, Chrono. Alright. I'd say KO's getting slightly better damage rolls, but not by much here. Especially on this last slime, he just refuses to die. Alright, our series fight on Punk's side. Nice, very nice, quick Cyclone at the start of the fight. The quicker that Cyclone, the better, ultimately. And you got a nice spread on the damage here, too. So, the main strat for this fight is once on the front, twice on the back, one more on the front. You need to make sure that you target the middle one, otherwise your damage isn't spread out well enough. And the big thing here is if one, like, any of the R series die, basically, then they all start counterattacking when you hit them. So if one's dead and then you Cyclone 3 of the other row, every single one of those guys will counterattack you. That's not what you want. Okay. I was gonna say, Chrono's health is a little scary there, but looks good. Made it through, everyone was alive. That's kind of the important thing. Alright, yeah, KO's pretty far behind here. He's about a minute and a half to minute 40 behind. There's still a lot of race to go. And knowing both these players' PBs, it's still anyone's race. So Punk's on his way to end of time. He's going to get magic for all of his characters. Cool thing about magic is it actually resets your tech points. So if you were worried that someone didn't quite get enough tech points at all early game, you really didn't need to grind them. The only thing we did grind for was the Fire Whirl, and that's because it one-shot the Nega-Ets, which was really the only thing that one-shot the Nega-Ets. Alright, let's see how KO does with his quick Cyclone. This is the most important input in the entire attack. Oh, Chrono's on item. Yeah. Yeah, that's also one thing that you kind of want to keep in mind if you're going to heal on the slime fight, is not to heal with Chrono, because his cursor memory wasn't set up correctly. He should still be fine. He's probably going to get an extra set of punches from the back row, though. So as long as they're not focused on one party member, everything should be okay. Alright. Punch Chrono. Okay. So Honk is getting his magic, and I think, yeah, I don't think Kaio's feeling too well here. Yeah. Kaio's not feeling too well. It looks like he's actually forfeited from the race. He had a bit of a nosebleed earlier, so... Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Ooh, it looks like Ponk's fighting Specchio. Yeah, hold on tight here, guys. Hold on tight. Alright, free magic tab. Alright, so Ponk's doing Cake and Dash here, where he swaps his party members to regain control. Yeah, we're just trying to figure out exactly what's going on here. It's really unfortunate that that Kaio's not feeling well. Alright, so in Hecarim Cave, you're not really fighting much. You're just getting into fights and running away. But again, we're not really getting any experience, so we're not getting any stronger. So luckily we can skip this next boss. A little bit of fade out here, and we're going to use fade out and the save anywhere glitch on the Hecarim fight to skip it. The racer is agreeing to do a race for fun in the future. I, for one, want to watch that. And yeah, so that was saving over the trigger and starting the fight with the enemy off screen. This one's a lot more difficult to pull off than the Yakra skip because there's a save point or a cutscene trigger that you need to get just over. And you really only have about 3 frames to do it. Yeah, Kayo's saying it's really hot. I know in Germany it's ridiculously warm right now. It has been for about the last month. Even where I'm living on the East Coast, it's pretty warm right now. So all we could do is hope Kayo feels better and cheer on Ponk as he goes for his sub 2 run. Because I know that that's been a goal for him. I'm not sure if he got that there or not. I wonder if he's going to test. He did get it. Okay. Yeah, the save point didn't make the sound. Or maybe it did make the sound, but it got eaten by one of their things happening, which can happen sometimes. So grabbing the save anywhere in End of Time instead of the Cathedral saves roughly 30 seconds. It was something that was known about, but a couple runners put in quite a bit of work, to get it at a 75% consistency, which meant that it was something that you had to do in your run, essentially. And now it's at 100% consistency with just a tiny bit of time loss that you get by pausing the game. But it's still overall a net gain, even with the slight time loss. But it's 100% consistent now with the pause buffers. The PC version isn't really viable for speedrunning. It has quicker text, but all the other glitches are patched. There may be PC-only glitches, but I don't think that's really been explored yet. The DS version, again, same thing, faster text, but all the glitches are patched. This is another save anywhere that's really tight, and it looks like Ponk nailed it. Sweet. But yeah, they're playing on the US version. The US version gets a damage boost with the unequipped glitch, whereas the Japanese version gains protection from all 4 magic types instead of just 3. So it's kind of interesting where the Japanese version has faster text, but depending on the length of your run, you might need to play a different version if you want to play the quickest version of the game. But yeah, everyone's playing the SNES version. I think Kaio might actually be playing on actual hardware, but Ponk, I believe, is playing on actual hardware, but with an SD to SNES. Yeah, the PlayStation version has just such horrible load times every time you open up a menu that that alone kills it for a speedrun, unless there was some like giant sequence break, which was PlayStation only. And I really hope that that day never comes. Never. If you're gonna play glitchless though, there is a good chance that the PC version may be faster, but it's got different battle mechanics, or like slightly different battle mechanics. Alright, so Ponk making his way through Denadoro. This section of the game can be a little bit tough. You don't want to get into any fights in this whole section. If you do, there's only a couple backups. One is resetting and starting the mountain again. The other one is saving on this particular screen that Ponk's on, and there's a backup battle that you need to unequip Chrono's Berserker, do the battle, equip Chrono's Berserker back on him. So we're gonna see Ponk has the extra tab from fighting Specchio. Oh, hits the fast bird. That's nice. I believe that breaks down to a 1 in 4 chance. There's just a small chance that when you fall off that ladder, you have control of your party right away. Sometimes they need to like stumble and shake it off, and it's a little tough to notice whether you get it early enough. But if you notice it right away, you can actually go for a quicker cycle on the bird. Kaio was having some health issues, and unfortunately had to withdraw from the race. Looks like Ponk is gonna continue this run, get a time, and most likely move forward. Yeah, the heat's been pretty rough on a lot of people this year. No, the screen is just the last thing that his stream had before he went offline. Alright, so Ponk into the really not that hard, but you have to do it exactly right, otherwise it might not work out. Massive minute fights. Since Chrono is berserked, he's not able to slash to break this guy out of his counter phase. And since he's not unequipped and very low level, his final attack in the counter phase is going to do a lot of damage to these players. But if you can do just enough damage, we're talking about 1800 damage, before he finishes his entire phase and goes into the counter phase, it'll actually reset him into his secondary phase, and he'll start with punches and everything again. Alright. There's a couple different versions of this fight, but this one, it works out pretty well. You just need to make sure that you have all your inputs in, like, all of your menuing done during animations. Otherwise, Masamune might be able to slip out of the script that you have set for him. There's just so much stuff that happens on this game that you don't really see when you're looking at the screen, when you're just kind of watching a run, that if it wasn't done, these players would be losing minutes. And that should be the end there. Solid fight. Alright, so we get what looks to be the bottom of a sword, but is actually the top of the sword. It makes 0 sense, but it is a magical sword, so we won't question it. Alright, so Ponk's coming up on a, I guess you could call it a big menu. I mean, it's no Final Fantasy IX menu, but it's a pretty big menu for Chrono Trigger. We're going to be unequipping all the other characters. Except for Marley, because, well, we're not going to use her again in the run. Well, we'll actually use her for one more fight, but then we'll get rid of her post-haste. Also very good to make sure to take that Berserker off Chrono. So yeah, you're not really able to unequip anything unless you have no items in that particular slot. So that's why they have to go into the store and sell stuff in between each unequip. Hey, we got a new. There's a little bit of luck blessing. All right. So it's the part of the sword that they already picked up, but it's actually the hilt. Whoa, we're on our way to perfect news. Alright, so... getting into this fight and running away is perfect. It's going to increment our RNG window by 1. And it's the perfect lineup for the next couple fights. Yo, thank you for the subscription with Twitch Prime. Look, I have a username. So we got another fade out here. This fade out's important just to progress the story. It saves you roughly about 10 to 15 seconds to do the fade out versus actually talking to him there. Alright, on the way to the Mystic Mountains. Alright, so Ponk closed the second text box there on a pretty specific window, and by doing so, these two move in just the right way so he's able to slash both of them. It's not absolutely required, it basically just saves time. Otherwise, Chrono would have to do a second slash attack. Alright, so we're either going to see 2 slashes or a slash and a fire. Yeah. 2 slashes is faster, but the 2 slash and then the flame toss is a little bit safer. Especially where Luca is so low on health. Because she's the next target guaranteed. And here we go. A little bit of Ayla. A little bit of Ayla gracing our lives. Yeah, it's pretty important to make sure that Robo's not in your party. Even though Robo's laser spin one-shots the Reptites, the time loss that you get from Ayla asking what a robot is just too much. So it's not really something that we do. And it's very important that we swap Robo into our party and Marley out now. Because during this barbecue here, Marley's cutscenes are a lot longer than Robo's. Robo doesn't even really have cutscenes, he just kind of marches on the spot for a little bit. Marley wants to go dancing. So yeah, basically he's going to stand up, kneel down a couple times, and once his eyes start blinking, talk to him, talk to Ayla, and you've progressed through the whole cutscene. Now it's just a matter of mashing text and drinking lots of soup. Everyone loves soup, right? So I think you only need to drink 8 of these. I never really pay attention, I just mash. And I don't think I've ever lost. It's pretty hard to lose this cutscene, actually. But if you were to, you know, not pay attention to mash. Hotline Marty. Not quite. Kaio wasn't feeling very well. It's very hot where he's living, and the heat was getting to him. Unfortunately. Yeah, it feels bad, man, for sure. But Ponk's still on pretty good pace here. It's gonna finish it out for all of us. It's only got a couple more bosses left to go, really. So he's gonna do another fade out glitch here so that we can skip talking to Kino. Kino's pretty talkative for a useless character, gotta say. Alright, lots of battle skips here. You don't really get a chance to see them because Ponk is making it past very safely. And we're into Reptite's lair. So one of the biggest parts of manipulation in this section are the criticals, mainly for Ayla. Since we haven't really gained many levels, Ayla is by far our strongest character. Chrono seemed to do a lot less damage there than I was expecting. But yeah, getting a crit from Ayla. And then as long as Ponk is able to make it past these next couple battles without getting into them, he'll be all set up for criticals on the Nisbel fight. Last thing he needs to do is run away real quick from this fight, which he got. So while we're waiting for this boss battle to come up, just give a big shout outs to Speed Gaming for hosting this tournament, providing all of the tech support and everything like that. Mr. Broadstone in the background helping out today, setting up this race. Shout outs to the racers. Kaio runs this game quite often. It's just very unfortunate that he's not feeling too well today. But make sure to go follow him and follow Ponk as well. Alright, so I believe Ponk's going to be going for the quick lightning. Yeah. Should be good. He's going to have some ATB to make up with Luca. He's going to have to mash a couple of her attacks, it looks like. And mash pretty well, too. That wasn't half bad. If he's able to catch up by the next fight. Should be time for some lightning. If Luca gets her turn here, then everything's a-okay. If Luca doesn't get her turn, he's just gonna have to mash really hard. Okay, yeah, everything's fine for the rest of the fight. Yeah, so Ayla's actually on a string where she's going to get 5 crits in a row. That's a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage. It's like 2,200 damage, which is almost half his health. Just in those 5 crits. And then she does a few more attacks as well. Alright. Easy in his bullfight. This fight's not even really that dangerous. All of our characters are unequipped. So the lightning release that he does, which normally hits you 150, 200, doesn't really hit you for that much anymore. It's only about 1/10 of that. Alright, just making sure not to get attacked by any of these runners here. It won't throw off your RNG too much, but it costs time. And gotta remember this Berserker too. Tell Punk's a little nervous here. He's mashing when he comes out of these portals and activates the one that he lands on. But he's heads up enough to realize and backs out of the menu before he rides the teleporters again. So doing a fade out glitch into the basement. Gonna swap Robo out of the party. And that allows us to regain control during this cutscene, and it skips a lot of the Robo animation that would happen otherwise. Defeat Queen Zeal tournament. That might be interesting. So that's basically beat the game through the Black Omen. That would actually be a pretty fun tournament. Yeah, but beating the game through the Black Omen's different, because you don't need to do all the side quests at the end of time. You'd basically go get the Green Dreams so you could Elixir Glitch Lavos, and probably go get maybe Prism Specs. But I mean, really, after you complete the main story and you get the Flying Epoch, you could just go right into the Black Omen and beat the game. So time ends on Queen Zeal. Then you wouldn't need to get the Green Dream. I'd race that category at least once. Nice bird skip from Ponk. It's the most important bird skip in the entire run. But even more important than that, we're working on perfect new luck right now. I don't want to jinx it, but we're 2 for 2 on Forest News. Can we get 3 for 3? Not today, it looks like. 2's still really lucky. Yeah, Punk's on great pace here. He should be able to hit this this sub 2 run, hopefully. Alright, so this cutscene, it's probably the biggest downtime in the run. But it's got a lot of funny stuff that happens. Oh, and just a heads up, it looks like after this race, there is going to be another race of Jackifer versus V-Man. So, keep your heads up. Stay tuned to this channel even after this race. There'll be more. Yeah, we learn a lot of lore here. We learned that Cyrus was just an empty shell that was easily burnt by evil magic. Pretty cold that Magus just incinerates him. It's not necessarily something that you see from him a lot. They just kind of do this to demonstrate how bad he is. Well, of course you won't hear it, V-Man. You're going to be the one racing. Haha. So we're through the first cutscene here. The second cutscene is a little more hype. It's got marshmallows and mountains getting cut in half. I mean, it runs the gamut, really. It does. Ponk spoiling a little bit, hitting 3 of 4 news. I think that's the best this tournament's had to offer so far as new luck goes. And everyone knows when it comes to news, 3 to 4 ain't bad. Well, to be honest, Rumble, news are purely meme and just there for swag, but it's a 1 in 4 chance to get one, and to get 4 of those 1 in 4 chances in a single run is pretty crazy. I know there's some runners who think that no news is good news. Others think that as many news as they can get. Alright, so Frog finally wakes up from his nightmare and realizes that it is in fact an eternal nightmare. He will always be a frog. Nothing but jelly legs and swords and tongues. Like, something that'll take you a while to get over. But once he realizes the power that he has in his hands, when he lifts the Masamune high in the air and dissects a mountain, allowing us passage to defeat the one who did this to him, get ready for Magus's castle. The ultimate cutscene. Alright. So the speedrun begins immediately. Ponk's going to buffer his movements into this fight. He's going to hope to run away and only get hit once for 19 on Chrono. He did get hit twice, but he didn't get to run away. The second hit actually doesn't matter that much. He might have to heal in a little bit, but we'll see what he decides to do. Making it past the bat. I know he was having trouble with a run earlier, getting past those bats, so that's pretty awesome. We're just going to see a shelter to be sure, and a save as well. So entering into Magus's castle, not a lot happens at the beginning. You need to walk up each of the wings, and then walk back, and it'll initiate your very first fight with Ozzy's minions. He tells you there's 100 enemies you need to fight, but we're just going to choose not to. Maybe fight a handful of them. And one thing to keep in mind too, you want to go up the left wing first. It'll save just a couple frames once you group up for the actual fight with Ozzy's minions. Yeah, this is the quiet part of the castle. Yeah, Frog always lines up on the left and Robo on the right, so having your party members in this positioning means that they set up appropriately and a little bit quicker than had you done it the opposite way. Alright, that's what we're looking for. We want to see a Crimson Rain on Frog. It's going to do a couple things. It's going to bring Frog's HP to a little bit lower, which helps with the flea manipulation. If Frog has too much HP, it can sometimes not work. And a really important menu here, too. We get the Power Scarf on Chrono, Berserk on Frog, go crazy. And we're going to take his helmet off as well to give him a little bit of magic protection. So keep in mind, Frog's the only one who's actually wearing any kind of armor. So he's the only one that can really take physical hits and not just get destroyed by them. So you see a 188. That's perfect. Steals Frog's MP, but we actually don't need any MP on a Berserk Frog. He's just going to auto-attack and get a whole bunch of crits. So with this fight here, if you've never seen it before, it's a sight to behold for sure. This is the boss that actually just does nothing. He's just going to stand there and laugh and laugh and laugh. Maybe laugh some more, and then die. Not sure what Flea finds so funny, but... So, what's kind of happening under the hood here is Frog and Flea have the same speed, and every time that Frog attacks Flea, it kind of confuses who Flea is going to target, and so Flea just decides not to do anything. And Flea doesn't really do much attacking at the start of the fight until he starts doing his wander movement. And because the Berserker sort of takes precedence over any other turn, Flea just never gets a chance to start the wander to actually start attacking. Now when Flea's down to half health, there is a small, well, not a small chance, there's a pretty good chance that Flea's going to do a stare counter and cause Chrono to deal about 100 damage to every party member. But if we just do a couple attacks here at the right times, Flea just doesn't get a chance to counterattack. The beauties of manipulation. So yeah, when a boss doesn't attack you even once, it's pretty good. Making sure not to run into any of these players here. They're going to cause battles for you at this point. Ba-ba-ba-bow. So here it's really important that Chrono is able to kill these last two with the same slash before Frog gets his turn. It's basically the window that you're aiming for, and the final value of this fight is going to give you the perfect crit value for the next fight. And there's something that's really nice about this script. You used to have to heal before the slash fight, but now you don't even have to hop in your menu. And that alone saves a good chunk of time. So the way the criticals work in this game is just a string of numbers, and depending on the percentage of value of that number and how that corresponds to the character's crit rate, it's a crit or not. Frog has a higher crit rate than most players, so there could be attack that Chrono makes regularly that wouldn't be a crit, that would be a crit on Frog. So we're just trying to maximize the amount of crits that Frog gets. There's going to be a couple points here where we're actually going to do regular attacks instead of slashes or rocket punches because they don't call on the crit value. And this is just to basically fire some blanks so that Frog can get the maximum amount of crits. Nice punch. That should be the end of the first phase. Easy. Alright, so it's pretty important to get these mid-tonics off really quickly with Chrono. You have just enough time during the attack animations to do that. That's why it's really important to remember where your items are in your menu and what your item menu memory is set to, so that you don't spend too much time trying to get to the right item. Alright, more crits from Frog. And he should be starting his string of 5 crits in a row here. It's just such a beastly amount of damage. Oh, that crit's so crazy, it's starting to drop some frames. Heavy hitting, for sure. Alright, so at this point we're just going to let Frog do most of the work. Chrono has just enough health. And we're just going to set Chrono to slash memories so that when he's running away, he's not... Because you run away with the L and R button, but they also scroll your menu as well as fill up your runaway counter. And sometimes you can get completely lost in your item menu. It's not very good for a speedrun. So setting your memory cursor to tech just makes it a lot easier to run away from the next set of fights here. Alright, so this is the hallway of unavoidable fights. But we can run from them, so it's not that bad. Sweet. So, yeah, not too much going on with these fights, but once we get into the next room, there's a lot of really interesting platforming rooms. Magus' castle has quite a lot of interesting stuff, actually. But the first of them is the next room, and that's the guillotine room. It's pretty tough to make it through there quickly. There's some really tight cycles, and you almost have to get your group ups perfectly and like reduce the amount of time you lose just based on your group ups. Yeah, he had to wait for a cycle on the end there, but overall, nice and quick. So this first outdoor staircase, you're basically just trying to get past the rollies, and all you have to do is not move, and they roll right past. They're like the T-Rexes in Jurassic Park. And we've got the pit room. Ponk making sure. Nice and easy. This room is a lot scarier the faster you try to do it. Super clean Magus Castle here. Ponk's making it past all the fights. So it's going to use the player 2, player 3 to push this guy out. Oh, that was really troll. Not quite sure what happened here. He's not able to run away, unfortunately. Yeah, you gotta watch out, though. The best thing to do in this fight is to rocket roll, because it's gonna kill the outlaw. And then you can take the juggler out with either a crit or an attack and another magic attack. Alright, yeah, that was a pretty trolly battle. That wasn't supposed to happen. So this is the room of the partially unavoidable battles. This first fight, you have to fight. Nice, frog still crits. Can't argue with that. Yeah, looking for that slash. So because Ponk's taking some damage here, he's going to have to shelter before the Magus fight. It's not a big deal, it's only a couple seconds and a menu, but... Alright, this is a fight you actually can run away from. Doesn't really make much sense, but we'll go with it. So these jugglers, you basically just need to pay attention to what kind of damage you've already done to which one. With Luca in your party, it's not really a big deal because she's going to be one-shotting anyway. Oops, I think Ponk meant to fire the other juggler. Yeah, these guys are weak starting out to magic first. So you can't really hit them with physical attacks until you've hit them with a magic attack at least once. But like I said, it's pretty easy to lose track of where these guys are. So Ponk is in line, though, to sub 2-hour run here. This is the hallway of completely avoidable fights. Into the last two fights of the game, Ozzy and Magus. So we're looking for a 119 on the last switch. I doubt it's going to happen because of the extra fight, but weirder stuff has happened. So let's see. He still gets the 119. That's pretty funny. Really, the main reason that happens is because of the fight that you're able to run away from. It kind of helps normalize your RNG a little bit. Yep. So Ponk's gonna take the gift from on high and not have to reload here, and he's on to the final fight. Everyone, get yourselves ready. Get your sour pleases ready. It's time for some badass music. And I like how the fires go like quadruple speed while it's loading up the scene. I don't know why that happens, but I always noticed it and I thought it was pretty cool. Alright, so entering this fight, we never taught Frog magic, so we only have access to lightning and shadow. Luckily, with the 119 on the Switch, we know we're in a proper window that we should be able to get nothing but shadows and lightning barriers. Alright. Not sure if that shadow attack was supposed to be on Robo, but I don't think it matters that much. Yeah. It's very important to let the geyser happen before you actually make those inputs. Not so much for turns, but so that you have a window wide enough to get 3 of Chrono's magic attacks in while his defense is down. Yeah. And now that all the slashes are in, we're on the final phase. And it's just a countdown of the rest of his health until the end of the fight. Getting through the barrier phase is the hardest thing, and if you're off RNG at all, it's quite trying, because he's going to give you lots of barriers that you can't deal with, and you're just going to have to tank the hit and move forward with that. So he's just going to be trying to get as many attacks in to avoid a second Dark Matter. Here's the first one, but the second one's going to kill Frog. Again, that's not really the end of the world in this category. In a full game run, you kind of want everyone to get the experience this fight. Alright, looks like he's just gonna do a safety heal just to make sure. There's enough room in the script here that Robo can do one heal, if need be. Can he kill him before the next dark matter? I believe. Nope, it's not gonna happen. But he's still well on pace here to get a sub 2 hour run. And there it is. Looks like that's almost a 5-minute PB for him too. We have a final time. We stop timer when Magus kneels. 1:56:36. Looked a little bit closer to a 34, but we'll take that. That was an awesome run. So like I said, we've got another race between Jackifer and V-Man coming up. And we've got Silent Martyr, who's been doing some chat commentary, coming in to the booth, doing some voice work here for you guys. Yeah, see if Ponk wants to pop in or not. Say a few short words, not sure. All right, see if we can get him in here. I think we're joined by Ponk. How's it going, man?
Hey.
Congratulations on the sub 2 hours. That's
Thank you.
sick.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this run. A few mistakes, but overall, like, way better than the previous ones.
Yeah, I can notice all the time you've been spending practicing has really paid off.
Yeah, kind of sad. Kaio wasn't able to finish, but yeah, the heat in Germany right now is like pretty insane. Like, kind of sad, but oh well. We already agreed on like a casual rematch, so that should be fun. Just something, just some fun.
Was there anything during the run that you were a little bit worried about? When,
I was very worried about falling into one of the Aussie traps, but I made sure that wouldn't happen. Besides that, I was kind of worried that the Magus fight wouldn't work out because like I had these extra encounters in the Magus Castle area at the late game, but I had like I looked up the damage numbers for like the trap floors and it just all aligned for some reason, and I had no clue if the RNG would work there just because of damage numbers. But I mean, it somehow worked, so I wasn't inclined to not having to do any extra reloads. So that was pretty cool.
That can happen sometimes. It depends. If you have a rolly in the fight, chances are it won't. But if you get in an extra fight and it's just the juggler and the bird, you can be okay. The runaway in the room where there's the 3 fights and you run away from the middle one kind of levels things out a little bit and kind of helps you fix if you've messed up something.
Ah, right. Yeah, that's good to know. But yeah, I'm happy with that. That was the first run I did that didn't need any backup loads, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, thanks a lot for commentating. I peeked in a little and it was pretty fun.
Yeah, you definitely had some fun. Told some stories, ate some marshmallows, and cut some mountains.
Yeah.
Well,
got free news. That was probably the best part about this run.
Yeah, I think that's a tournament best right now.
All right.
I think there was only 1 4 new run in the last tournament, and that was a background guy. I think that's the only confirmed 4 new run so far, like with video proof.
Well, let's get that going for next round.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we have another race coming up right now.
Yeah, they should be getting set up here pretty quickly. So, do you have any final thoughts on that race?
No. I'm looking. I'm somehow still in this tournament, so I'm looking forward to the next round.
Yeah, well, Belgrand Cherry is your next opponent, so.
Oh no, really?
You might
God,
want to do a little practice.
All right, more practice, but yeah. Okay, yeah. Thanks a lot for commentating.
No worries, man. Thanks for racing. All right. We will wrap this up, and we'll let the next race get on the get-go. So thanks again for watching. I'm Drunken Draconian. Get prepared for V-Man and Jackifer with Silent Martyr on the microphone.